Well, here we get to look at the QNAP servers that I have, and they're both 2-disk servers. One on the left is a little older than the one on the right, but yet I could use a little bit something else. So instead of buying a 4 to 6 disk QNAP and staying with that platform, we're here in the office and I'm trying to build my own NAS. My first time trying to do this. I'm trying to use a TrueNAS software, but since I have this pedestal, the P100, if you're following along, what am I going to do with it? Well, I thought I'd go ahead and build a water-cooled NAS. Power supply, ITX motherboard, radiator, fans, 140 millimeter reservoir with alpha cool pump, and 4 drive bays. Gonna modify, get a fan in there, a few fans in here, some on top, maybe punch a hole for some cables, and everything should be all set. Yeah, look at this mess. Anyway, the pains of doing water cooling, right? So it's plumbed. You can see that I'm still working out air bubbles in the system just to make sure we catch any leaks. A little unconventional routing here, but I'm trying to keep it as low profile as possible, and some of the bends were really tough, even with soft tubing. So it goes out into the inlet port of the CPU, out of the CPU, and it needed to go in the radiator. And because the return is on top, I chose the top port of the radiator to try to give the most reasonable bend back to the pump, which means the inlet for the radiator was on bottom, and it's there and there. So I had to come around. This tubing is not able to make the bend that I wanted to make. So I've got a small fortune in fittings to get myself around to water cool this device. How easy would it have been just to stick a air cooler on here and forego all of this, right? We don't do it the easy way around here. We mod things up in chassis that weren't designed to be standalone PCs. We have some fun. All right, so I think we're plumbed. I have to punch a hole in the back wall. I'm going to try to get a controlled hole with a grommet. And then here on the front, I want to mock up a 200 millimeter intake fan. And I need to mock up with the other drive rails to see if I can't mock up an intake on this side. So I got some cross flow here. I'll have exhaust here. I have an intake on the front. I think that's more than enough ventilation. Plus it'll be blowing directly on the 4 drives of the NAS, which I need to test fit some drives. Make sure that all of this is good, but it should be. You know, famous last words. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the motherboards that we have available to build this NAS. Ultimately, what I wanted was something at least i5, i7, i9, something more current, at least 32 gig of memory, maybe 64. Maybe I can get away with 32. If you think I need more than that, let me know. Again, this is my first one, but when I'm comparing with my QNAPs, they got Celerons and 8 gig of memory and 2 drives. So I thought, this is going to be a step up, right? You can see that I've got water blocks on the CPUs here. Why do I have so many boards laid out? Well, this was the one that was in my very first medium PC, and I was all set to use it. If you saw in my short, this was the one that was sitting inside that Thermaltake Core P100. And I was all set. I was going to build some risers here, lift it up a little bit, finish the build. 2 SATA ports. Oh boy, 2. So then there are NVMe adapters where you could plug like an NVMe drive and it'll have 4 to 6, and I could have easily taken the cover off. They have ones that have heat sinks on them, and I could run all of my drives off there, but I don't really want to take this off and just leave this part off. And I was doing some research on that, and they said they're not as good as the ones that get integrated in the motherboard. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm going off Reddit posts and people who have probably far more experience in this TrueNAS than me. But I'm trying to limit my headaches. I'm creating several tonight. So I thought, okay, let's salvage this board from either my 3090 workstation, and this was like an extra one. This was from the tin can system. And this is a delidded i9. I mean, the NAS doesn't need an i9, but it is a gigabyte board. I would stay with gigabyte boards. I like the settings that I have in the BIOS, the vidlock, the settings for gigabyte work across all the Gigabyte Z790s, and it's rock solid stable. It keeps the CPUs a little bit extra cool, and they run great. And I like Gigabyte. Problem with this board is we got 6. There we go. Let's get in frame. We've got 6 SATA connectors here. This one's too big. Otherwise, well, I could have worked with this. This is an ASRock. Okay, this is an ASRock Z790M-ITX Wi-Fi. And if you're following along, you know that I also have it in the second Media Machine. This was Media Machine 1. I went to a smaller case and was using this as an extra system in another part of the house. And I thought, well, let's just use it. I don't really need it. And this has been a perfect Media Machine or NAS machine. And then the SATA ports threw me under the bus. So then looking around, trying to find another one. Well, this was my 3090. The other one I had was the Media Machine 2 that I don't really want to salvage from. It's got that 120 AIO, the 2080, the 12th gen CPU. I mean, that's really all I was going to need. The only reason I'm not using that setup is because it's a KF and there's no integrated graphics, and I don't want to have to put discrete graphics card in this NAS. This is the Heat Killer 4, not the best block. I have the Core 1 and Optimus blocks on just about everything else. Now, I could transpose these things over, and I might, because this block performs better than this block. You guys can duke it out in the comments, but the data has already been published on my site. The only reason I felt like I had to use this board, it doesn't seem like it's as heavy and as many layers, and goodness gracious. I mean, Gigabyte built a nice board. This is not the Phantom Gaming line, so the Phantom Gaming seems to be built a little bit more robust than this, but despite where they cut corners, there's 4 SATA ports. And interestingly enough, this CPU has integrated graphics. This i9 is a 14900KF. So it's just all wrong, hodgepodged out. So I have to use this board to put in that pedestal case so I can get my 4 SATA ports. I need this CPU in this motherboard, and I'll swap them. Okay, we're finishing up the installation of this TrueNAS server. You can see, sort of zoomed out here, I've got 4 16 terabyte Ironwolf Pro drives, a 140 millimeter alpha cool reservoir with a VPP pump into a 280, looks like an EK, old stock, 2 140 millimeter fans on top. I've disabled and I've put on a 200 millimeter fan in the front to blow air intake directly onto the drives. I've got intake fan on the side here to blow across the board. And you can see I've still got good access to this side, and if I really had to get to it, it's mounted to the fan bracket. The whole bracket can come out, and I've got complete access to that side. So the plan is to put this on the bottom of my main OfficeRig that I've featured on this channel a million times, and make the pedestal the second PC. The power button is mounted right through there, and let's just let you see the back panel, how I mounted these things. That's my network cable. The USB is at the bottom there. I've got an access port, a power button, and now I'm within the TrueNAS software trying to set up permissions. The SMB drive paths are good. I've been moving files to the NAS, and now I'm setting up applications. So Plex server, a few simple things, and I'm struggling a little bit, so I may have to reach out to the community for some help, maybe some simple fixes, maybe be related to permissions, but more to come on this. If you've enjoyed this build, I'll try to tease out a little bit of the software. If you want to see more of this, I may do a quick short once it gets integrated on top of the server, show you the finished product. Stay safe. God bless.